Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Savannah Chrisley compares Todd and Julie to Donald Trump. Chrisley knows best. Alum Savannah Chrisley seems convinced that her mom and dad, Todd and Julie Chrisley, are innocent of fraud and tax-related crimes. Did she just suggest that perhaps they were wrongfully arrested when she compared them to Donald Trump? Read on to find out what people think. Savannah Chrisley posts a meme. The USA Network alum has been promising anyone who will listen that she can get her mom and dad out of prison early. So far her efforts failed, despite Julie Chrisley getting her sentence vacated. The Chrisley knows best mom of Chase, Grayson, Savannah, and Chloe is back in prison after the court upheld her original sentence. With appeals failing, Savannah Chrisley took other avenues to try and get her parents home. One of those steps was a big campaign to out the prison staff for poor conditions, discrimination, and other failures. But many USA Network critics think that all she does is hurt her parents even more. This week, she resorted to posting a meme, but critics only laughed. The meme hints Todd and Julie wrongly arrested. Recently, the daughter of Todd Chrisley went full MAJ. Each to their own, it's not against the law. But followers believe that she is doing that to try and get a presidential pardon if Donald Trump wins the election. And yes, her meme had a photo of DJT in it. Memes are memes because they are open to interpretation. The meme also featured Steve Bannon. So, next to Donald Trump, Savannah Chrisley wrote, Trump, jailed wrongly and released. With Steve Bannon, Savannah Chrisley wrote, Bannon, jailed wrongly and released finally. At the bottom, she put in Todd and Julie. She wrote, Todd and Julie Chrisley, jailed for far too long in poor conditions and still there. Probably the former USA Network star was trying to suggest that her mom and dad should have gotten a much shorter sentence. But as memes can be misinterpreted, it seemed to hint that they were wrongly arrested and imprisoned. Chrisley knows best critics mocked the meme. When the meme appeared on Reddit, of/best_scallion_9983 said. Other Chrisley knows best fans also laughed, and some of them seemed a bit shocked that Savannah Chrisley had posted it. Here are some of those reactions. Bannon went to prison for refusing to answer a subpoena. That's not being wrongly imprisoned, that's exactly what FAAFO means. Her parents are in the same boat. You actin' a fool. Pardoning isn't ever going to happen for them. Nobody really cares about the situation. Okay, this is beyond delusional. Is she serious? Bless her heart. It was a typical dazzling fall day in Nashville, and Savannah Chrisley sat poised in a sun-dappled room, wearing an outfit that could only be described as classic Nashville chic. She was halfway through a podcast recording, and her phone blinked repeatedly with incoming messages. The Chrisley family's world was as chaotic as ever, with public scrutiny still at a fever pitch. Savannah had become the unofficial spokesperson for her family's trials and tribulations, a role she wore with remarkable resilience. In the midst of the podcast, a familiar question arose, one she'd heard dozens of times since her parents' prison sentences were handed down. The interviewer, an affable woman with an air of curiosity, posed it gently but directly. How do you feel about your parents' legal troubles, Savannah? Do you think they're being unfairly targeted? Savannah took a breath, her eyes narrowing with a mix of frustration and thoughtfulness. You know, I have to be real with you. There are times I feel like my parents have been made examples of, she began, leaning forward. It's almost like they've been put on trial for things other people have gotten away with, just because they're in the spotlight. She paused, her fingers toying with the edges of her microphone stand. Look at Trump, she said, a flash of mischief lighting up her face. Love him or hate him, you can't deny that people in the public eye get treated differently. They both rose to fame because of the lives they lived openly and unapologetically, and that drew the kind of attention that gets magnified under the spotlight. The interviewer raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued by the comparison. So, are you saying your parents are like Trump? Savannah laughed, a quick, spontaneous sound that seemed to break through the tension. Oh, it's complicated. I mean, they're both bold, outspoken, and willing to risk it all for their families. But in their hearts, my parents aren't political at all. They're just Southern to the core. She shifted in her seat, growing more animated as she continued. It's like, people think reality TV shows everything right. Like, they think they know everything about us because we're on screen. But what they don't understand is that TV captures maybe 10% of the real story. They don't see my dad agonizing over our family's well-being or my mom making sure every little detail is perfect for us. And then suddenly, they're on trial for something that would be totally under the radar if it was any other family. The interviewer nodded, her pen racing over her notepad. So you feel the media has painted an unfair picture of Todd and Julie? Absolutely, Savannah replied, her voice firm. People have this idea of my dad as a larger-than-life personality, which he is, but there's more to him. It's easy to criticize him when he's just this character on a screen, but behind that, he's one of the most devoted people I know. The same way people mock Trump's character without knowing what's really going on behind closed doors, they misjudge my parents. It's all a game of perception. The interviewer pressed on, sensing she was touching a nerve. Do you think fame changes how people are prosecuted? Oh, without a doubt, Savannah said, exhaling sharply. When you're famous, it's like you're in the courtroom of public opinion before you even get to the real one. The stakes get amplified because, for some reason, people love seeing those they put on a pedestal fall. It's strange, though. If someone like Trump wasn't who he was, people wouldn't spend so much time following his every move. Same goes for us. She took a sip of her water, visibly gathering her thoughts. People forget that there's more at play when you're famous. Every interaction, every choice is scrutinized, magnified, and replayed a million times. My parents aren't perfect, no one is. But the way they're treated, you'd think they were the only people in the country facing financial charges. So, the interviewer said with a twinkle in her eye, you're saying Todd and Julie are a bit like Trump in that they're judged more harshly for being in the limelight? Savannah leaned back, her expression thoughtful. Yeah, I guess so. They're just normal people who happen to have had cameras on them. Fame has a weird way of making people think they're entitled to judge you. I mean, look at my dad and Trump. Both have that love 'em or hate 'em energy that draws people in. But at the end of the day, they're family-oriented, and they'll fight tooth and nail for the people they care about. The interviewer chuckled. It sounds like fame is a double-edged sword. Exactly, Savannah agreed, her voice softened now. I mean, people see the show, the glitz, and they think they know the whole story. But that's just the highlight reel. What they don't see are the countless family dinners, the struggles we keep private, or the way my parents work endlessly to make sure we're all taken care of. There's an authenticity there that doesn't always translate to television. Savannah's face softened as she added, my dad, like Trump, has this way of making you either love him or hate him. But that's just him being unapologetically himself. The unfortunate part is that when you're in the public eye, that unapologetic nature makes you a target. The interviewer tilted her head, her curiosity deepening. If you could tell people one thing about your parents, what would it be? Savannah thought for a moment, her expression becoming serious. That they're human. People forget that. They see my parents as characters, but they're real people. They have flaws, they make mistakes, but they love us fiercely. And maybe they got in over their heads with all of this, but they didn't do it out of malice. They did it out of love for their family, to provide for us in a way they thought would make our lives better. The room fell silent for a moment as her words hung in the air. Savannah's voice was steady, but there was an underlying vulnerability that was palpable. She knew that, like Trump, her parents would face criticism and scrutiny for every step they took. But in her eyes, that wasn't a reason to abandon hope or shy away from the public. It was a reason to keep fighting, to keep standing by them as they weathered the storm.